We want the truth. That as today, we return to Taiyaki Studios, who earlier this month had terminated their last remaining VTuber, Lola Loading, a rapid space buccaneer, and whose talent was formerly Waifu Baby, a virtual music artist. Waifu Baby earlier reaching out to TVS to tell us her side of the story, and now in response, Taiyaki Studios taking to Twitter to tell their side. After this tweet, Taiyaki Studios would reach out to TVS, which then kicked off 8 hours of Discord calls between TVS, Taiyaki, and Waifu, accounting for everything said in this response. In what follows, Taiyaki would claim things like fraud and manipulation, but beginning with praise, stating that they believe Waifu is both talented and smart, certainly not clueless, and saw her as responsible for things more than just streaming as a VTuber. Taiyaki Studios saying they were focused on viewership, not revenue, and in creating Lola Loading, we're looking for an in-house flagship character to demonstrate their technology, then expecting to integrate that tech with other VTubers who they had intended to try to recruit at TwitchCon. Waifu Baby at this time unable to post on any Lola Loading account, but responding to points brought up in this response. The Taiyaki team taking to the Lola Loading account saying this is a message from the Taiyaki team as the artists and developers who supported Lola full time. We owe her fans, all those who worked on Lola, and the wider VTuber community the truth after seeing FalseEyeD's video. Everything in the video is false. Hi. Other than that Lola's real name was leaked in a Spotify upload and that Lola disliked the Weewos. The Weewos effectively being representations of chat on the Lola Loading streams. Lola responding that she does not agree with the framing of this, stating once again she never disliked the users, but simply disliked Taiyaki's emphasis on games that were set to a timer every stream and therefore interrupting the flow of her content. Waifu saying further she thought the Weewos were cute. Taiyaki Studios saying further we have written evidence and records supporting every single claim in our response. These records were not shared in this post and due to legal reasons likely should not be shared in a post like this, as sharing communications such as those could then kick off legal proceedings. Taiyaki saying further, this will only cover a fraction of the manipulation, abuse, and fraud we have uncovered. TVS clarifying what Taiyaki meant by this, and they were specifically only talking about Waifu's past with her previous company, not with the Taiyaki Studios work or role. Taiyaki Studios also telling TVS they actually do not have any direct evidence of any of this, instead stating they believe there was fraud, while at the same time, here at TVS, we are perfectly aware they cannot speak to any of the actual business done with Waifu's former company. And if in doing so, that could potentially, yes, kick off legal proceedings. Taiyaki continuing here, will focus on Lola's role at Taiyaki, how artists were treated, money, and work conditions, saying Lola is not the victim here, and we know we are not alone. Taiyaki Studios also taking some time to give some further financials to TVS, ones that did absolutely work in the favor of Waifu. Taiyaki Studios taking time to pay off remaining debts from a musical contest held earlier by Waifu entitled Starstruck, further graciously paying Waifu's relocation fees for moving, but also as claimed by Waifu, they had agreed to also pay for her final concert as Waifu, but that particular promise was not kept by Taiyaki Studios as per Waifu, thereby in her estimation actually just evening out as to what they had actually promised. Taiyaki then getting into the background saying Lola was in senior management at Taiyaki Studios. Lola was not a talent signed to an agency. This actually being despite the fact that yes, Lola was absolutely expected to be a talent on stream and off stream. Her title was creative director. And as clarified further for TVS, it is true that while Lola was given this title and she was made to sign a creative director contract, there were further contracts after in revenue sharing that would be more classically seen as talent contracts. Taiyaki elaborating, she took a 6-figure salary, equity, benefits, and a 50% cut of Lola revenue on top of her salary. Waifu speaking further to this, confirming that she was given that title, but in many instances felt that she was that in title only, stating many of her decisions were simply not listened to or firmly firmly pushed back on, and also contesting the six-figure salary amount, saying her base pay very much was below that and had projected herself not to hit six figures even after the 50% cut. Taiyaki Studios saying further she was responsible for strategy, target, schedule, and creative direction. And this, dear viewer, is certainly where the ideas of what Lola loading would be very much differ between the talent and the studio, as strategy, targets, and schedule were never at any point in a contract explicitly made clear to be her responsibility, only that yes, she would be in charge of a creative direction. And as we will see time and time again, Lola, among others, are expected to, well, wear many hats, these responsibilities stacking up and up and up. Taiyaki saying further, the team were all artists and developers supporting Lola. Lola had no manager in the talent agency sense. Everyone, including the founder, worked on Lola's streams full-time, supporting her creative direction. So once again, going back to this specific point here, Lola had no manager in the talent agency sense. However, it was true that Lola had a project manager. A statement when speaking with TVS, initially Taiyaki had denied until pressed further, and then correcting themselves, confirming there was a project manager who had been in the role for the better part of 3 months before Lola's debut, but that resource no longer being available for Lola after debut. And on the topic of debut, waifu had claimed that she only had 3 weeks to prepare for her debut, Taiyaki pushing back on that date, saying that it was more like 2 months, as in their view, when their deal with waifu's previous company to buy the waifu baby brand appeared to be falling apart in early March, the Taiyaki founder at that point simply thought that was when it was clear that a new character would have to be made. Waifu then being tasked to create an entirely new character and needing to take time for new designs, new direction, and more. Waifu then coming back with those details in April, and then at that time, yes, being given a hard debut date 3 weeks later. Taiyaki Studios then talking about how her artists and team were treated, correcting the record here, stating Lola had an on-site editor at all times during the project, supported by 3 remote editors hired on Lola's recommendation. TVS then confirming that setup is correct, but that the setup and outcomes were well out of norms. These remote editors not given final edits in many instances, or abilities to be a part of the rest of the workflow like publishing the videos. Taiyaki Studios saying further, to our knowledge, Lola didn't edit a single video while at Taiyaki. Her editor edited all of her videos and created all the thumbnails. Waifu pushing back on the thumbnail point, saying yes, she had provided thumbnails, but both Waifu and Taiyaki not clear when talking with TVS which of the thumbnails in the end were actually used on the YouTube videos. Waifu clarifying this on-site editor was brought on a month after debut and was then given other responsibilities, such as taking care of audio levels during streams, handling social media, and more. The social media aspect, of course, originally being on the responsibility of the project manager that was no longer a part of the project. This, of course, leading to this next point. She later asked for his, that being the on-site editor, help managing her socials, which she learned to support on the fly, and he was also her production assistant, managing AV, sound, and Streamlabs OBS during every stream. Again, Taiyaki Studios not providing new resources for this, but delegating responsibilities to an on-site editor to do this. This statement from Taiyaki saying further, why claim that 4 people who worked on this project for months every single day simply didn't exist? If you're wondering who to believe, this lie alone should set off massive red flags. Waifu making clear she is very much still in contact and friends with all 4 of these individuals. And now we have this next section, Taiyaki Studios saying her model was not a VR chat model. The face was modeled by Mads, body designed by Have, and outfit modeled by Mary. Amazing artists who deserve your support. Amazing artists indeed, as Mads, of course, is one of the highest recommended 3D modelers that we know of, and highly recommend. And alongside Mari showing and confirming that they had worked on the outfit, and also confirming after Lola's debut that while they had worked on the outfit, they did not create the body, as that was provided by Lola's team. So once again, we have a fantastic modeled head and then a fully up to spec outfit. But what about the base model for the body? What about the hair? Forwarded on from Waifu was this model, available on Booth, and yes, available to be used in VR chat, and very clearly sporting the exact exact same hair as Lola, the antlers simply being removed from this model. When this model was presented to Taiyaki Studios from TBS, they still claimed the base model was theirs alone, but then did agree, yes, that is the hair that Lola had used. Waifu further pushing back on this claim, saying she was there when the browsing on booth was done to find the model, and she was also there sitting with the dev when the model's proportions were being changed to more reflect that of Hololive Japan's Hosho Marine. Waifu also taking this time to clarify that even as creative director, her inputs on outfits were sometimes not acknowledged or followed through with. As in one instance, she was given a onesie despite her objections to wanting to wear that outfit. And as in regards to Have, Waifu confirming, yes, Have did help with the character illustration, but of course had nothing at all to do with the actual base 3D model whatsoever. And so again, these claims between Waifu and Taiyaki not lining up with one another, but also creating a few technical errors, including an instance where if Waifu had looked down into the side, an entire gap between her head and the model could be seen. And now we have further disagreements. Taiyaki saying Lola averaged less than 30 hours a week of work during her time at Taiyaki, claiming this was about half the rest of the team, and using this interesting metric, saying making her the highest paid team member on an hourly basis by a wide margin. Again, no one here being hourly, they're all salary, meaning you can come and go as long as you are working and accomplishing goals. Waifu being very adamant that her time on average more so was 45 hours a week, and she has the Uber receipts to prove it. Even saying further that she was discouraged by the founder of Taiyaki to buy a car out of concern that she perhaps would not be receiving a good deal. And this all being a major point of contention, especially on Taiyaki's part, claiming that Lola was missing meetings and apparently barely at the office. Waifu countering that the team simply enjoyed their time at the office, using hours to play games with one another, watch movies with one another, and even claiming that one of the developers actually had lived at the office, that point being denied by Taiyaki. Waifu also further stating that other members at times, of course, also missed meetings, even leading to the cancellation of morning meetings due to poor attendance. This statement continuing on, this left the team with an absentee creative director who could not provide the direction, communications, or support they needed to move the project forward. Many artists and colleagues were left hanging or ghosted at critical times during the project, TVS asking for clarification on that, and Taiyaki even saying that yes, there was actual mods of waifus that they claim were being ghosted. Waifu countering that, saying that the majority of her mods are still with her at this very moment, but that a relationship with one of the mods simply became too interpersonal and she had begun to cut off contact with them. Taiyaki confirming over time people did leave the project, including the entire music team. Though due to the aforementioned issues, not a single one of Lola's songs were produced with the music team after months of them trying to work with her. The previous artist the music team lead worked with have billions of streams. This was a huge missed opportunity. Now about this music team, Taiyaki claiming there were 3 individuals considered as a part of the music team, and the individual here with apparently billions of streams on Spotify, well, they were more of a music industry contact, less of a music industry producer of songs, and would not have been instrumental in the creation of these songs. Also, the individual in question here being let go by the founder of Taiyaki, this not being a decision on Waifu's part. Waifu being told by the founder that these salaries were the highest cost for the Lola project, and as people left or were let go, Waifu then had the impression that the founder did not feel that they were worth spending money on, instead delegating more responsibilities onto others. Other opportunities from this music team lead, including being a part of South by Southwest, an appearance that Waifu claims the founder did not see the value in spending money on. Further along, we have she didn't actually release a song a week, despite setting that target for herself. And while true, this was a target that Waifu had set for herself when she was Waifu, she states she is very much since learned her lesson about that and had no desire whatsoever to continue with that pace, but that this target was set by the founder. As with new songs, there was evident traction, and it was Waifu being given the target of a new song every Saturday. Waifu once again saying that this had not worked, but initially agreeing to see if it could again. All in all, Waifu estimates there were around a dozen songs released as Lola. Waifu confirming there were some weeks where she simply couldn't create songs due to illness, times when she was not in the office, and times where they were preparing for even bigger events. Statement continuing on, when she did choose to make a song, beats were purchased on BeatStars, and she usually began work on Thursday and completed the songs by Saturday. That being seen by Waifu as absolutely impossible. The idea that she could create songs within just 3 days while also being expected to stream. Tayaki's statement continuing, many promises to improve were made but not kept. Her colleagues rallied to support her and cover for her at her request. For example, Lola asked us to help respond to DMs for her because she struggled with managing her inbox and saying we never sent a single message without her permission. So once again, this going back to the claim that Tayaki Studios was sending out messages to Waifu's friends but pretending to be Lola. Waifu further confirming for TBS, yes, a spreadsheet of all of her friends and all of their metrics was requested and made. Tayaki Studios then telling TBS that Waifu had instructed them on how to speak as Lola. This being very much contested by Waifu, citing only one incident when she was getting ready for a stream and with her bulky streaming gloves could not respond to a direct message from a friend, thereby in the room with the founder, saying to him what she had once said and then ending with a smiley face. That apparently being seen by the founder as carte blanche to then act as Lola, as just about all the communications to her friends for one of her final streams, that being her partnership stream, were not made by her, but were made by Tayaki in the character of Lola. Waifu claiming this is incredibly different, as one instance she was simply in the room saying what she wanted to have said, as opposed to message after message being made without her input. And now let's talk about money. Tayaki stating, we believe in paying artists generously, and several artists and developers were paid six-figure salaries to support the project. Once again, that they were paid a salary, not that they were actually paid six figures owing to the abrupt ending of the project. Tayaki pushing back on this claim that they had only spent hundreds of dollars on the project. That again, for clarification, being just a claim against the marketing of Lola, not the entire project. Tayaki saying, we spent more than hundreds but less than millions. Also stating Lola alone spent $17,000 on her corporate card. This was on top of her six-figure salary and 50% cut of Lola revenue. Oh, the card, the card. Waifu confirming the $17,000 were business expenses, commissions to Fiverr and Scab as she was directed to make, as she was instructed to get more artwork as that did get engagement. Saying further, she was actually directed to use the card for things like lunch and dinner while she was at the office, as well as using this for Uber rides to and from the office day after day. Lola also confirming that she had purchased an audio interface as instructed on this card, but after a while stating that she had stopped wanting to use the card, even for business expenses, as she feared these expenses would be weaponized against her, as seen here in this statement. And as in regards to that statement of the few hundreds of dollars, that comes from the on-site editor being paid hundreds of dollars to promote tweets. Waifu claiming Tayaki instead opted for guerrilla marketing, seeing Tayaki more prioritizing organic marketing and not seeing that as a source needing priority spending. We also have a very large claim here. She took weeks of paid vacations, this being very much contested even by those reading this tweet, as everyone has access to records of the streams in which Lola had been a part of, and even taking into account the automated portions of the streams, viewers simply not seeing where weeks were taken off. Waifu confirming she had taken a vacation before debut in April with family and had taken other days off due to illness. When TBS asked Tayaki if this time was approved, they stated they did not have a culture of approved time off, instead stating that simply they didn't believe they had a choice to not approve of it. And now we are back in the money. Tayaki saying our records show she made multiple more as Lola than she did as Waifu, with far more relaxed work conditions. The tax differences between where she moved from was insignificant. By some measures, total tax burden there was lower. This part being incredibly contested by both parties. Waifu confirming she was on an entirely different type of tax contract with her previous company, and that at one time, the founder of Taiyaki even apologized to Waifu regarding the larger taxes, stating that they were brutal. When TVS moved to verify that claim was made by the founder stated he may have said that. And when asked in regards to what relaxed work conditions meant, the founder once again stated that she was being paid a guaranteed salary and was not specifically talking about the office studio in this portion. After this, we have the video claims she chose not to sign an NDA, that being a non-disclosure agreement, but she actually did sign a confidentiality agreement. These still being two separate agreements. And this confidentiality agreement is why you, dear viewers, are not seeing receipts. As baseline from a business perspective, they cannot share these communications between each other, as these communications are seen as proprietary. However, Taiyaki did confirm that after Waifu originally had submitted her resignation, Taiyaki had sent a non-disparaging agreement her way with the offer to pay for the rest of her salary for the rest of the month. This being an agreement that any employee can choose not to sign. Waifu then saying that she shot her shot, and now Taiyaki here saying she then asked us for $30,000 anyway to not talk to FalseEyeD, which we declined. Okay, there is much more to this than said here. Waifu confirming that she quote-unquote shot her shot, asking for a larger amount to sign a document that she was not at all required to sign. Taiyaki then coming back not with that amount, but doubling their original amount, folding in an insurance payout into a lump sum amount, with Waifu then deciding simply not to sign. At no point during the time of this number being asked was my name, FalseEyeD, ever used. Taiyaki Studios confirming they were not even aware I would be speaking on the subject until I had made the tweet earlier in the morning of the video. So once again, the claim of she then asked us for $30,000 anyway to not talk to FalseEyeD is in itself false. Taiyaki's statement then continuing on about work conditions, saying this video takes Lola's own decisions and frames them as being imposed on her, saying, for example, the team came in to support the stream when the AC was broken, though it never reached 98 Fahrenheit. Waifu absolutely claiming that before the fans were turned on, it absolutely did hit 98 Fahrenheit, as she was very much one to set the temperatures in the studio, saying that after fans were running, it was still at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and the founder himself confirming that he saw it get up to 81 degrees Fahrenheit inside. This again being a studio in which Waifu, as Lola, was expected to be in full mocap suit. We then have this part of the claim, because Lola wanted to stream from the studio instead of from home. Waifu pushing back on this, saying it was impossible to stream from her home. She was in an Airbnb. There was no possible way with that internet that was very clearly stated to Taiyaki time and time again could ever actually hold a stream, even with the laptop that they had provided to her. And when asked what did Taiyaki mean as an in-home stream, clarifying that she could have streamed with a PNG. Taiyaki Studios saying further, this is all well documented in our Discord chat history, of course, that they cannot show you, as this would be breaking their very own confidentiality agreement that they had brought up just before. Taiyaki continues, set her own schedule and targets and was never pressured to stream when she didn't want to. The team even had an intervention urging her to take time off when she continued to stream while sick. And this part actually being further confirmed by Waifu, as during a set of streams, her voice was simply going out. She was urged by Taiyaki and her viewers to stop. All right, everyone, see if you can keep up with me on this next part. As Taiyaki says, another example of her decisions being turned against us, our main developer used to work on another VTuber that had an automated stream. Lola discovered the VTuber through that automated stream, made contact with the developer, and he was brought on to the Lola project. We all agreed to try the automated automated stream for Lola. After all, if the dev hadn't tried it with his previous VTuber, Lola wouldn't even exist, and we stopped it after mixed results. Once again, the Lola loading Twitch account running for sometimes 12 hours at a time, an automated tutorial stream with no live host. Waifu confirming, yes, she actually did bring on that developer even before she had any business with Taiyaki. And while initially agreeing to try the automated streams upon seeing the incredibly low viewership, pushed back, and eventually, after weeks upon weeks, Taiyaki Studios did relent and did stop the streams then. Taiyaki then claiming that this low viewership was not the primary reason for Lola's delays in making partner, and elaborating further to TVS that an email was sent to Lola's email and had not been seen by Lola for quite a number of days. This email from Twitch being a denial to their partnership application. Eventually, another application for partnership was sent that was then further denied. And then finally, after Taiyaki reaching out directly to Twitch, explaining the automated streams and why there were at times very low viewership, only then was Lola actually approved for partner. Next up, we have the graduation stream, or more to the point, the lack of a graduation stream. Taiyaki saying no graduation stream was ever scheduled, and the project fell apart while the team tried to coordinate a graduation stream with Lola after she decided to quit. Taiyaki asking, why would we take the hit to our brand and disappoint all our fans after pouring all this effort into the project? Well, they actually answered that to TVS why they would do that. Waifu telling Taiyaki after her resignation that she would very rarely be in the studio, but agreeing with them that she would take part in a week of recording. This starting on September 18th to create a mini-series as Lola, with the understanding very clearly between all parties here that a graduation stream would have been made after this recording. However, Taiyaki Studios, not pleased with the lack of communication with Waifu after this resignation, but well before that date of the 18th when she was expected to come in and record, instead, nearly a week before, locked Lola out of her Lola account on the Lola Discord, locked her personal account out from the Taiyaki Studios Discord, and locked her out from the Lola Loading social media accounts. Then making this statement, saying, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, we won't be able to host a graduation stream, making it very evident and clear Taiyaki Studios was the one that had canceled any actual ability for a graduation stream to be made, and therefore terminating Lola. Taiyaki Studios at this time defending themselves, stating that during this time of little to no communication with Waifu, they felt they were being seen as a piggy bank, and that Waifu was simply going to ride out the rest of the month of September without committing to any actual projects. But again, pulling the plug well before the agreed to recording date. And now we have a load of claims very quickly here, saying other claims about long hours, again already addressed by Waifu earlier. The missing chair, that being an ask by Waifu for a chair so she could sit down as she was otherwise standing for hours on end during her streams. This chair finally directly requested by Waifu in August, and then finally produced by Taiyaki in late August. Taiyaki then mentioning the missing screen, claiming that not only after all the other responsibilities they had discussed, that it was also Waifu's responsibility to prioritize development for the team. Therefore, the creation of a chair and a screen was not prioritized. Further here, we have the founder departures. A statement from our original video, which is not false. Taiyaki instead taking issue with the framing, confirming one of the three founders had left before Waifu was involved, and another of the founders had left while Waifu was involved. Further, Taiyaki Studios saying that the recordings during vacation time were false, and yet fully admitting, yes, the time that Waifu had stated that she had wished to take off was interrupted by the impromptu request to record for Filian's talent show. Further, Taiyaki would say being made to use AI was false. The original claim by Waifu here being that she was offered by Taiyaki to import her voice into AI and thereby potentially speeding up the creation of songs. The founder of Taiyaki Studios calling Waifu a mid-journey addict, that she had asked them to keep tabs on beats that could be made by AI, and even stated that she was very excited to have her voice cloned, citing that plans were even being being made for the founder's girlfriend to use her voice and then have it modified to sound like Lola. Taiyaki Studios even taking this moment to say they didn't even believe that Lola really enjoyed even working with humans, and that Lola herself did submit her voice to Uber Duck, a voice AI program that was so high in demand at the time that no actual product was given back. Waifu firmly pushing back on those statements by Taiyaki, saying she had never submitted her voice for Uber Duck, and that when she was approached for it, she said they could play with it, but had never approved using it for music, and that the idea of the founder's girlfriend using her voice to sound like Lola was proposed to her at one point when Waifu was out sick. Taiyaki lastly saying in conclusion to everyone who reached out to warn us before Lola debuted, we are sorry we ignored you. We believed her side of the story at the time. If you know, you know, some of the truth is out there already. To all the artists who worked on Lola, you deserve better. To Lola's fans, the Weebos, you meant the world to us. We are so sorry things turned out this way. We'd like to move on with our lives and put this behind us. We hope this is the last we have to speak about this. Signed, the Taiyaki team. Taiyaki further confirming for TBS they have intentions to simply pivot away from VTubing at this point and do indeed hope to put the matter behind them. That further backed by Waifu also further hoping to return as an indie even as soon as later this year. Taiyaki Studios lastly saying to TBS that they are real people who were wronged, that any video about Waifu is platforming a compulsive liar, that this was a bad experience and they felt betrayed. Waifu once again locked out of all of the Lola accounts and once again planning her return, saying of her experience with Taiyaki, she was hired but did not receive what was promised, and so she resigned, stating that even as creative director, she felt she had no actual creative control, whether it be over the project or the character, and that Taiyaki had sucked the passion out of it and made it corporate. And now in other news, we turn to V Shoujo, who this weekend looks to have a brand new member debuting, and oh, would you look at that, I don't have any more time. So we'll just have to get to this in the next episode. And that is all for this episode. As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below. Send in your VTuber news to our Discord, and we'll have more things VTubers say for you soon.